Very much for being with me. In these dangerous, crazy, and rapidly moving times, I want to say a few words as to where I think we are right now and how we best go forward if we are to defeat oligarchy, authoritarianism, and horrific attacks against low-income and working-class Americans throughout our country. Let us be clear. We are living under an oligarchic form of society which has created more income and wealth inequality than at any time in our history. And that oligarchic form of society created a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to make unlimited amounts of campaign contributions. Trump won the election with $270 million in support from Elon Musk, the wealthiest guy on earth. The result of that enormous campaign contribution was that Musk was given the most important job in government and the opportunity to decimate government agency after government agency. Because of Musk's chainsaw approach, we have seen massive layoffs in the National Institute of Health, the Center for Disease Control, the Department of Education, the Department of Health and Human Services, and many more. USAID, which provides life and death support to the poorest people on earth, has been virtually eliminated, and as a result, millions will die. Further, Musk has proposed the elimination of 83,000 jobs at the Veterans Administration, which will result in deteriorating health care for the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us. He has also cut thousands of jobs at the Social Security Administration, an agency which is already understaffed. And now, as I hope all of you know, Trump and the Republicans are working on a massive budget reconciliation bill, or Trump's big, beautiful bill. If you can believe it, and I know it is really hard to believe, that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, this legislation provides a $645 billion tax break to the top 1%, at a time when these guys already own more wealth than the bottom 93% of Americans. This bill would also provide a $420 billion tax break to large corporations that are stashing their profits in offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands. And by the way, this particular tax break makes it easier for these companies to invest in robots and artificial intelligence, and as a result, throw millions of workers out on the streets. And now, how does Trump and the Republicans pay for these huge tax breaks for the wealthy and large corporations? Well, at a time when over 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured, when our current healthcare system is already broken, this bill slashes Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act by more than $1 trillion. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that this bill would eliminate healthcare for 16 million Americans. And a recent study from Yale University and the University of Pennsylvania concludes that when you throw 16 million low-income and working-class people off of the health care they have, it will result in 50,000 unnecessary deaths every single year. Further, this bill makes massive cuts to nutrition, education, and other programs that working families depend upon for their survival. In other words, this unspeakable piece of legislation takes from the most vulnerable people in our country, people who are barely hanging on today, and gives it to the very richest people who have never, ever had it so good. And in many ways, this legislation epitomizes exactly what Trumpism is all about. If you are rich and powerful, and you can make large campaign contributions, you are entitled to massive tax breaks that will make you even richer. If you're working class or low income, you are entitled to nothing. But the struggle we are engaged in now is not just to defeat this terrible piece of legislation. We are also engaged in an unprecedented effort to defeat authoritarianism and maintain our democracy. Never before in American history has a president acted with such disdain for our Constitution and for the rule of law as Trump is doing right now. He has usurped the power of Congress by putting a hold on appropriations that Congress has authorized, firing thousands of employees and abolishing agencies that Congress established. All that is illegal. He and his supporters have usurped the power of the judiciary by threatening to impeach judges who rule against Trump's policies. He has sued media and extorted them for large settlements, including ABC, Meta, and the Des Moines Register. He is now in negotiations with CBS and its parent company, Paramount, which he sued for $20 billion. Why? Oh, he didn't like an interview they did with Kamala Harris. His administration is attempting to zero out funding for PBS and NPR because they provide a more objective source of news than he is comfortable with. He has called CNN and MSNBC illegal. This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about. He has extorted money from law firms who represented clients he didn't like, and he's going after universities whose courses he disagrees with. What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you. And that is not the America that so many brave Americans fought and died to defend. And now we have the situation unfolding in Los Angeles. So let me be clear. Trump's deployment of the National Guard and Marines in California is not about the protests. It is not about ICE, and it's really not about immigration. It's just another example of Trump using extremely dubious legal authority to expand his never-ending quest for more power and his effort to move this country toward authoritarianism. Trump's argument for his deployment of the troops is nothing less than absurd and laughable. Does anybody really believe that we are in the midst of a foreign invasion or a rebellion against the United States? Those are the legal arguments that Trump has used to nationalize the National Guard in California. Defeating Trumpism and the oligarchs who support him will not be easy. That's clear. These guys have enormous amounts of wealth and enormous amounts of power. But if there is anything that we learn from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s successful effort to combat racist officials and segregation, it is that disciplined resistance is the best way forward. Burning cars or throwing rocks at police officers is precisely what Donald Trump wants. If we're going to defeat Trumpism, it is going to require a multifaceted approach. So let me tell you a little bit about what we are doing. We have already held, as many of you know, 18 fighting oligarchy rallies in 12 states with over 250,000 people in attendance. Over 250,000 people came out, including many independents and Republicans. And we will soon be announcing a new series of rallies which will be located in rural conservative areas, exactly the areas that we have got to turn around. Further, we have hired organizers in congressional districts where Republicans won with slim margins. We are also training thousands of people on how to run for office, from school board to Congress. And we have already announced our support for a number of strong progressive candidates, with more to come. In other words, we are building the kind of grassroots political infrastructure that is needed if we are going to defeat Trumpism. Let me get a little bit more specific. Short term, we're mobilizing opposition around the country to Trump's disastrous budget reconciliation bill. That bill has got to be defeated. Medium term, with Republicans holding only a 4-vote majority in the House and a 6-vote majority in the Senate, we are working hard to end their control of Congress. If we are successful, that will go a long way to putting the brakes on Trump's reactionary agenda. Longer term, we are building a political movement which is taking on the billionaire class, taking on the right-wing extremist Republican Party, and taking on a corporate-dominated Democratic Party whose leadership is wedded to maintaining the status quo. We are fighting, to quote President Abraham Lincoln in 1863, for, quote, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If there was ever a time in American history when we need to come together, now is that time. If we continue to fight for the basic principles of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice, I am confident that we will not only get through this unprecedented crisis in modern history, but that we will lay the foundation for a better and more just America in the future. Thank you very much.